Radio Stews Nation, coming at you live. Here we go.
Time to end this suffering. I need a minute to myself, so I can drift away. You will never get to me. What can be done, I'll do myself, so I can slip away. What's around, what's for? What's losing control? What's around, what's for? No one about to break. What's around, what's for? What's losing control?
YouTube, what's up? It's your boy Whip. Real quick, I want to say shout out to CCSIZ. It's Charlie Sierra Indigo Zebra on YouTube. He does fight breakdowns and stuff like that, like I do. And then another quick shout out to subscribe to CCSIZ. By the way, that's my boy. Shout out to Kathy Dixon in parentheses is Match Pets on Facebook. If your animal's lost anywhere in the United States and you can't find it, let her know on Facebook, and she may be able to find it, and should very well be able to anywhere within the United States if it's captured and if it's in captivity in some kind of shelter, and you're worried about that. Let her know. Maybe she can help you out. Anyway, I want to do something new today. This is Radio Stews Nation. This will be our first iteration of a new episodic series that I will be releasing called What They're Really Fighting. What I'm going to be doing is I'll be breaking down each fighter as they go into each particular fight, only the fights that I give a shit about. And I will be breaking down what I view that they're really fighting as far as, maybe outside interferences or whatever is really going on, heading into the fight and so forth. We'll start with Thales Leites versus Sam Alvey. This is the fight card tonight. Leites is fighting Father Time. He's been around for a long time. He fought Anderson Silva and lost in a boring decision for the middleweight title, and that was on April 8th in 2009. It's 8 years ago. So that just goes to show you how long, Thales Leites has been around and how long he's been good and been doing this. Back then, he was mostly a ground fighter, but he's been facing what a lot of people have in a late career resurgence lately. There's been a big boom of those, where he added striking to his game, and he evolved. Then he's facing Sam Alvey tonight. So Sam Alvey's really fighting a padded record. He's also fighting that wall where a prospect needs to become a contender. His best wins so far are probably over Kevin Casey and Cesar Ferrara. My prediction is that Thales Leites is gonna bring home a boring decision here and probably retire. Not to say that he will, but He's getting there, man. I think it's time for him to step away. I think it's time for quite a few people, but that's for another video. Then we got next up, the fights that I give a shit about. We got Jake Ellenberger versus Mike Perry. Platinum Mike Perry. What he is fighting is his first loss. He's now 9-1. He just lost to Alan Jouban not too far back, and that's always tough. We've all seen how Ronda Rousey reacted to her first loss and tumbling so far and all this kind of thing. Even though it's only 2 losses, the repercussions of that are huge. Now, then Platinum Mike Perry will be facing Jake Ellenberger. Ellenberger is fighting the change of terrain with the new techniques and the new fighters, coupled with the shakeup from GSP's departure. So what I'm saying is now everything's changing. All these new guys are coming up and the old guard's switching out. GSP left and that kind of really shook everything up. And, Jake comes from a different era. It wasn't so long ago, but it was when wrestlers were, they were so all of a sudden getting KO power and reigning supreme. Johnny Hendricks, Jake Ellenberger, maybe Rory McDonald. GSP was the champ. He's obviously, he doesn't have the knockout power, the straight up knockout power. Not that he can't knock anybody out, but it was just a different world then. And Jake is he's from that time, and it doesn't look like he's going to evolve. It hasn't looked like he's been even shifting towards anything as of late. But my prediction is that Ellenberger is going to win here. I think he's going to win a decision that's going to be, it's either going to be competitive early on, and then the match is going to sour out, and it's going to get into a tired, tentative third round where both fighters respect each other's power. It's going to go to the decision, and I think Ellenberger will get that one. Which, who knows what that might mean for Mike Perry if it does happen. But he's a dickhead. He was saying ignorant shit about the one of the Korean fighters that he was fighting, and racial slurs and all that kind of deal. I mean, not that I'm too sensitive about that, but come on, guy, you're a fucking asshole. So anyway, next up we got who we got? John Dodson versus Eddie Wineland. Now, John Dodson, what he's really fighting, I feel like, is out of Demetrius Johnson's shadow. He tore through the flyweight division only to fail to beat Mighty Mouse. He starches 3 more contenders, faces Johnson again, and then fails again. He announced a move to bantamweight, probably to rejuvenate his career, as many others, sometimes successful, have before him. He TKO'd Manny Gamburian only to fall to Lineker in a split decision at bantamweight. Lineker was another one of those who moved up. And that was 6 months later. That was in October 2016. John Dodson needs this win to get back on track and establish his own legacy outside of his rivalry with Mighty Mouse. He needs to become his own fighter. He needs to start blazing a trail that doesn't lead back to Mighty Mouse. He needs to get, and so far it hasn't really worked out for him, and I wish him all the best. But anyway, he's fighting Eddie Wineland. Eddie Wineland's really fighting the technical aspects of martial arts. Similar to Jake Ellenberger. He's fighting that change of the guard, and he comes from a different era. He would live by the sword or die by it in every fight, just like many of his peers did. And now all those peers that live by the sword, die by the sword, they're all retired. They're all gone. Uriah Faber and all that, not all them guys, but, Uriah Faber being a perfect example. I believe Eddie fought him years ago, and look at him. He's gone now too, and he was a wonderful fighter. But, that live by the sword, die by the sword brought him a lot of respect, brought him a lot of success and respect and all that kind of stuff. But it also brought him brutal losses, even lately, such as, Renan Barral. That's a young technical fighter who beat the fucking piss out of Eddie Wineland. But the final thing Eddie's fighting is the stigma of career resurgences, as I had mentioned earlier. The sad realities of resurgences like Rumble. Rumble, he came back and he's got this resurgence, then he gets fucking beat up twice and he retires, or Andrei Arlovsky. He was supposed to be some, great big comeback and all this, and he's getting beat up lately. And that's sad, man. And it's overshadowed, by things like the also temporary crowning of the former champ Robbie Lawler. So Robbie Lawler, he's this big success story, and everybody keys in on, look how successful Robbie Lawler's resurgence was, and blah, blah, blah. And now it's done, and he actually made it to the title. But I don't know. My prediction here is, Eddie had 2 TKO victories in 2016. And while they were very exciting, he beat Takeya Mitsugaki, that's an established veteran, and a pretty decent, lesser-known fighter of Frankie Saenz. These are not signs, joke there, but these aren't signs that this is some type of resurgence. John Dodson's youth and new age technicality will win the day by TKO in the second round, and that is my prediction on that. I think John Dodson takes TKO in round 2, and we may also see another retirement from Pickett. I don't know if you ever see 2 on a card or anything like that, but we might just see two retirements tonight. Or we might see either one, I don't know. But anyway, Next up, we got Iaquinta versus Diego the Nightmare Sanchez. Now, this one, we might see another fucking retirement. Shit, it might be a world record on retirements on a mixed martial arts card. But Iaquinta, in my opinion, is really fighting the United States Anti-Doping Administration. With all the recent changes to the UFC, the purchase of it by WME, IMG, the Reebok deal, USADA, all these changes and all, I think Iaquinta is blaming Reebok for stealing his sponsors. Like, oh, I don't want to fight anymore. Reebok took my sponsors. Now I can't afford training and blah, blah, blah. I don't think he made that much money on sponsors. He's not that popular. So he disappears from MMA for quite a while, threatening to retire and become a real estate agent due to his inability to afford training because of his financial losses to Reebok. I think that's a load of shit. I think that he's got something worked out, just like Brock did, just like GSP does, and I know he does, that they don't have to fucking pass drug tests. I think Iaquinta, he's raged out before and shit like that too. I think he's a roid raging sumbitch, and I think that's what he's really fighting. And that's what this, what's going to be pivotal in this matchup, I think, is whether or not, either of them probably, but, more solely focused for the sake of my argument is I think that's going to be a big part of the fight, is whether or not Iaquinta is juiced or not. Now, Diego Sanchez, on the other hand, is fighting tarnished legacies. That's what he's really fighting. He's been around since the first season of The Ultimate Fighter. That was like 2005 or something, and that's quite a while for a fighter. They don't have a long shelf life. And while there were glimpses of his former greatness in recent fights, he flirts with tarnishing his legacy, as many view to have become of Anderson Silva or Vitor Belfort. A lot of people think, Anderson with the failed drug test after the injuries and so on and so forth, that his legacy's now tarnished, and Vitor with the whole thing with the steroids, and now he's fighting and he's, not even half the size as he was before. Tarnished legacy. I think lately Diego has become like, not necessarily a laughing stock, but if he keeps, going in there and biting down and swinging at air and losing decisions and, blaming it on Egg Foo Young and shit like that, he's going to become a joke, and that's what he's really fighting right here is tarnished legacy. But of course, I wish Diego all the best. He's brought me much entertainment over the years. However, my prediction is that Iaquinta bullies Diego into a boring unanimous decision. I think Iaquinta just basically walks Diego around the cage wherever he wants, tagging him up, and Diego just backpedals, every once in a while bites down, swings at more air, eventually losing the decision. Now, again, all the respect in the world to Diego Sanchez. Now, the next fight that I'm going to talk about is the main event. This is not an important fight to me. The fight's kind of silly. The matchmaking is kind of silly. But Cub Swanson's important to me. I'm a big fan. And he will be fighting Artem Lobov, who is a teammate of Conor McGregor, who is good at not much more than talking shit and beating chumps and also losing to chumps. Anyway, Lobov is really fighting an actual UFC caliber fighter. And that's as real as it gets. When I talk about what they're really fighting, they're fighting this and they're fighting that. When it comes right down to it, Artem Lobov is fighting a real UFC fighter, a proven veteran from the days of the WEC. Lobov has a checkerboard record of 13 wins with 12 losses against, and these are with losses against the names such as Alex White and Ryan Hall. Who the fuck are those? Who the fuck are those guys? This guy, is now coming in to face Cub Swanson. And 13-12 with losses against Ryan Hall and whoever the fuck that other guy was. That's insane. That is insane. I think it's crazy matchmaking. But I'm not a matchmaker, so who the fuck, what do I know? Anyway. Next up, we got Cub Swanson, and he, of course, is fighting Artem Lobov, who we just talked about. But what he's really fighting tonight is the gatekeeper position. For years and years and years, Cub Swanson has rolled through the Dustin Poiriers, the Charles Oliveras, and even the Jeremy Stevens of the world. You know, and then he's, you know, while he's fighting the likes of Frankie Edgar or Max Holloway, you know, even years ago, he fought, you know, Jose Aldo, and Jose fucking relegated, you know, Cub to the B-level region of the featherweight division. And, but I predict that that the trend of this will continue, and that Artem Lobov isn't Frankie Edgar. He isn't Max Holloway. He isn't Jose Aldo. And I wouldn't even say that he's close at all. And I think, you know, that's going to keep right on going, and Cub will he's going to TKO another low-level fighter, and this time it's going to happen in the second round. I think, you know, probably midway through the second round, once Lobov starts to realize, you know, all the, you know, it's you're really in there, and you're really in there with a real UFC fighter. I think, you know, I think he's going to break, and I think Cub takes the TKO round 2 about midway through. You heard it here first. This has been the first episode of What They're Really Fighting on Radio Stews Nation. I'm your boy Whip, and I hope you all have a wonderful night of fights. Thanks. I'll see you next time. Peace.